This is the Mazda MX-30, Mazda's first all-electric car. Now let's start by addressing the elephant in the room. It has 124 miles from a full electric range. But wait. Right, before you click away, please just bear with me, because it might only have 124 miles of range, but if you're into climate change and you want to make sure you're saving the planet, then it has a really interesting reason behind why they've opted for a smaller battery. If this is the first time that you're seeing my YouTube channel and you like new car reviews, then please don't forget to go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Right, let's get into it. Mazda have done their research and found that most of their customers are driving less than 30 miles a day. Not only that, but producing the big lithium-ion batteries means making an EV produces more CO2 than making a combustion engine car. Due to the belief that the environmental impact of an EV should be measured across its whole life cycle is why they've opted for a smaller battery. Still not convinced just yet? The low price of the entry-level MX-30, the fact that it's got tons of equipment on offer, and the fact that it has that smaller battery, which makes it lighter and likely to handle better than a lot of EVs. These could all be reasons to consider the new MX-30. Let's take a look at everything else. The Mazda MX-30 is actually bigger in person than I was expecting. In photographs it looks quite compact, but in person it's much more SUV-like. The styling is refreshingly simple and clean. Up front, the grille stretches the width of the car, with LED headlights on either end and a piece of plastic trim overhanging it that flows into the leading edge of the bonnet. And the car's roof has a contrast finish that makes the MX-30 look more planted on the road. Mazda has opted for a set of suicide doors like you find on the BMW i3, which makes getting into the rear a lot simpler. The only negative is you can't open the rear doors without opening the front. The layout of them doors make it really easy for getting in and out of the Mazda. Once you're in, it does feel slightly compact. You're not going to want to carry passengers for too long in the back here. But then again, with a battery capacity of 124 miles, it's not likely that you're going to buy this car to be doing a lot of long journeys anyway. In the rear, it can feel slightly dark thanks to the dark headlining and the fact that the rear windows are quite small and they don't open. But overall, for smaller people, I think they'll be more than happy in the back here. The Mazda's boot is reasonably well sized. It's 366 litres, which is on par with the Ford Focus. The only problem is it has the powertrain underneath, so it's reasonably shallow. There's no drop down boot floor, and unfortunately there isn't anywhere to put your cables. One advantage of the Mazda's smaller battery size is the fact that it has quite quick charging times. So if you find an electric forecourt like this one, you can charge the Mazda from 10% to 80% in just 30 minutes. If you charge it from your at-home wall box, then that's going to take you around 6 hours, but still a reasonable amount of time. From launch and for a limited time, all Mazda MX-30s are actually going to be offered with a free at-home wall box fitting. So if you want to take advantage of that, then you'll need to be quick.
Standard equipment on all MX-30s includes LED headlights with daytime running lights, reversing camera, Mazda raised R cruise control, sat-nav and a head-up display.
If you like the interior of the BMW i3, then you're probably going to dig the interior on the Mazda MX-30. In the same way, they've used a lot of recycled and sustainable materials, plus a lot of them are vegan. You'll actually find plastic bottles on the doors and there's cork down the middle. Now, when I first heard about all these recycled materials, I was a bit, ugh, because I don't actually like the interior of the i3. I think they've got it really wrong in places. But actually Mazda is a really nice mix of these. The seats might be recycled and vegan, but they're still really comfortable and not as thin as you'll find on the i3. And then you've got the steering wheel. It's in really soft vegan leather, but you'll also find that it has some really high quality touches of chrome, which just elevate it a little bit further. My favourite part about the cabin of the MX-30 has got to be this floating centre console. It really looks high quality and futuristic. I was also worried about the use of cork, but actually it ties in really nice with the rest of the interior. Now there is a reason behind this cork, and that's because it harks back to the history of Mazda. They actually first started out as a cork production. Inside the MX-30 you can find 3 digital screens. The main screen contains your sat-nav and can be controlled with a rotary dial behind the gear stick. The second screen houses the climate control and comprises of a touchscreen and physical buttons. It's great to have the choice between the two. The last screen is your digital instrument cluster and can be customised to show various different driving functions like speed, cruise control and your battery capacity. A lot of the MX-30s also get electrical seat adjustments, which if you're coming out of a petrol car you might be thinking, no biggie, but actually electric seat adjustments are quite rare on electric cars. And I've noted a couple of times before, when you're spending close to £30,000, using a manual seat adjustment can feel a little bit cheap. So it's nice to see some electrical adjustments. So the lovely Tony from Mazda has just gone through my 5-step of regenerative braking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do that now, so you guys can kind of see how that works, because otherwise I might forget. But yeah, so there's 5 differences and we're just going to go through and do that now. So we're going to go ahead and put the car in drive. And then of course you'll see the ready come up, and then what we're actually going to do is we're going to use the paddle shifts on the steering wheel to bring the regenerative braking up and down. So at the moment it's in drive, and that is your essentially neutral kind of regenerative braking. Okay, so what's that regenerative braking like on the road? So we're going to give it a bit of a test. What I'm going to do is I've got it in the maximum braking setting, and I'm going to come off of the accelerator now. And as you can see, unlike the Nissan Leaf, that would have stopped you by then, but actually with the Mazda, it's a little bit less kind of aggressive, which is going to be better for a lot of people. It's still good to have the kind of 5 different steps that you can change it from, but I do need to be wary that it's not going to bring you to a complete halt. The MX-30's front-mounted motor sends 143 brake horsepower to the front wheels and is paired together with 199 pound-feet of torque. Now the MX-30, like every other electric car, does have instant power. However, it is one of the slower EVs, with a 0 to 62 time of 9.7 seconds, which is quite tepid for an EV. Fortunately, that's where the criticism of the drive of the MX-30 actually ends. In almost every other aspect, the MX-30 drives really well. The car's comparatively small underfloor batteries result in a curb weight of 1,645 kilograms, relatively light for an EV of this size. The Mazda MX-30 constantly feels relatively nimble and dynamic to drive. Sure, you're not going to mistake it for an MX-5, but it's definitely amongst the more dynamically sharper of electric SUVs. Being so settled also helps its cornering stability. Even on bumpy roads, you can trust that it's not going to slip mid-bend. And the nicely judged steering is light yet accurate and easy to gauge. Even on a dual carriageway, wind and tyre noise is kept to a minimum. However, there is some sound coming from the Mazda MX-30, and that's a synthetic audio that they play through the speakers, which sounds a tiny bit like a small petrol engine. Now, if you're stepping out of a petrol car to an electric for the first time, this is actually quite comforting. Visibility out of the front is okay. However, that does become slightly impaired when you're looking out of the rear because of the sloping roofline. The rear window is actually quite small, as you can see. However, all models come with parking sensors, and if you step up to the GT Sport trim, then you do also get a 360 camera. All in all, the MX-30 isn't actually a big car, so parking it is actually quite a doddle. It is a little bit too early to know for certain, but the Mazda MX-30 is predicted to be one of the slowest depreciating EVs, even ahead of the Honda E. Now that's great news for everyone, but specifically for finance buyers, because that means that the monthly payments on the Mazda MX-30 are likely to be low. The headline price of the base model MX-30 SEL Lux is just under £26,000, including the £3,000 government grant, which is a great price and undercuts many rivals. The Mini Electric was slammed for its battery capacity, and I have a feeling that the MX-30 is going to be up against the same kind of naysayers. But just like the Mini, I think the Mazda is going to find itself with some loyal following. It's a great looking car with some real high quality interior, tons of technology, and just enough practical battery as long as you don't need to go too far. So what's your opinions on the new Mazda MX-30? Please let me know in the comments below, and don't be too mean on that range. If you've liked this video, please go ahead and give it a massive thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this, then make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye!